following announcement has been paid for by the
Mark Order. Welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast, the AEW Dynamite results review from March 8th, 2023, Fallout from Revolution. I'm Cosmic Scott, and tonight I have with me Jay. Jay.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So, this is, again, it's the Fallout from Revolution, and it's looking like it was going to be an okay sort of card. It looked like it was not going to be super exciting, but it started off with my all-time favorite, which is Orange Cassidy and the All-Atlantic Championship. You got to admit that starting with this week in and week out is starting to really leave an impression, because it's just like, okay, Dynamite's starting, here's the All-Atlantic Championship, Orange Cassidy. I'm beginning to like that. What'd you think about the match overall, Jay? What'd you think about the setup going in? There was a lot happening right here at the very, very beginning. They kicked off quick.
So, I mean, I certainly love Orange Cassidy matches, but he's getting I'm going to say excessive amount of time on the shows lately. I mean, this was a 15-minute match, and like last week, Orange was on for his title defense, and then he was also in the Battle Royal. He was in two separate matches. It's like we definitely get Orange Cassidy every week, and that's fine. I like Orange. Like there's a bunch of guys I'd prefer to see over him. Like I want to see Darby fight every week.
Sure.
I don't even know where Darby is right now.
He fought every week. And now he's out because he's friggin' dead.
Is he hurt? Though?
I don't think he's hurt.
Or if Tony's just holding him off TV for a little bit.
I think he did the match in Japan last, and then he's had some time off, because let's face it, he really does put his body on the line, and doing that week in, week out is going to kill him. Unlike Orange, who's got a very, very soft style, to say the least.
I don't know about that.
Well,
Orange gets tossed around pretty good.
He bumps like crazy. It's true.
He definitely bumps. Yeah, Orange does not have a light workload in the ring. He may come across that way because of his sloth style, but Orange busts his ass out there.
That's true.
Now the other, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the big thing about this match was everybody was banned from ringside. It was just Orange versus Jay Lethal, and I love that, because otherwise it was just going to be interference win. And I don't like that. That gets old.
Right.
So they kept it with Jay Lethal versus Orange Cassidy in a classic wrestling psychology match. You got to admire Orange Cassidy putting on basically a clinic every week to open the show. I love that.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, it was a great match. They played on each other's limbs. It started off with Jay Lethal just working the hell out of Orange Cassidy's leg, as well as his arm being hurt. And he sold that the whole match, right up until the end, when he collapsed doing his finish, so that Orange Cassidy could do his finish. Now, he tried it the first time and collapsed. Wasn't able to do it on the leg. Had the hero come back later, got the pin, got the win. There's a reason he's still champion. I love it, but that's only because Jeff Jarrett wasn't ringside. He showed up, immediately attacked the knee, and next week, he gets the challenge. What do you think about Jeff Jarrett? You know he's going to win. In Canada, his home territory.
So I'll be at the show, and in Winnipeg, I'm going. I planned this trip well in advance because I wanted to go see Kenny Omega fight in his hometown. I wanted to be part of that crowd experience. I wanted to hear the big pop he gets from his hometown fans. And also, Jericho is going to get a great pop, and Don Callis, but we'll get to that. I guess the only other thing I want to say is Jay Lethal gets a ton of TV time. I just looked him up, and it seems like he's on Dynamite every week, and he's not on every week. He's on like every other week. Here I see him. He was on Dynamite 170, 172, 170. He gets a lot of TV time. So people were complaining that, why is Lethal getting the match? Lethal gets too much TV time. But anyhow,
did you hear the chants? Did you hear the chants for Lethal?
I didn't.
Let's go Lethal. Lethal sucks. Let's go Lethal.
Okay.
Lethal sucks.
I
No,
did not pick
seriously.
up on that.
Then he flipped off the crowd and they booed. The reason why he's getting all this time on air is because he's actually connecting to the audience. And I'm appreciative of that. And he's technically extraordinarily gifted. So it's finally starting to pay off. His heel work is finally starting to respond. And partially that's Jeff Jarrett's fault. As much go-away heat as he technically has, he's earned a spot in the low card.
Yeah, he's definitely great in the ring, and he's a solid mid-carder. I just think, but I just prefer to see someone occasionally who's going to have the potential to move up in the main event more often. It's just, I don't know, it just seemed like more of the same with this. Same thing with Jarrett next week. I think Jarrett's going to be different next week because I think there's a good chance, he has a pretty good chance of actually winning. Orange has had the title for a long time, and this would, there'd be a ton of heel heat around Jarrett, hitting him with the guitar, or tapping him out with a figure four because of, a foreign object to the knee to weaken it even further.
Right.
So, you got the storytelling here, and then, I guess the question would be, how often is Jarrett going to defend the title, and then who's going to be next to challenge him? What compelling matchups do you have for someone chasing the title against Jeff Jarrett, and how much Jeff Jarrett do AEW fans want to see? I mean,
here's the God's honest truth: Jeff Jarrett for life.
Yeah.
That said, the fact of the matter is I don't want to see him weekly, and if he wins next week, I will be extraordinarily upset. I don't think he's going to win. I don't care what I actually bet in the other Discord. I'm not going to actually think he's going to win. If he actually wins, I'm legitimately going to be upset. One, I happen to be an OC fan, but two, fuck Jeff Jarrett.
All right, so that's the first negativity I've heard from you about Jeff Jarrett.
I'm sorry, it came out. I'll get back into character again. I'm sorry.
You got to get back into character.
Jeff Jarrett for life. I'm on the Jeff Jarrett train. There's no way you could stop him. He's got all the stroke around here. You better listen up. Don't piss me off.
That's right.
Okay, sorry. I'm back in it. Jeff Jarrett for life. Okay, I found him again. I found him. I'm sorry. I missed it. I was wrong. I've sinned, but he's let me back into his heart, his guitar heart.
All right.
So after that match, we move on to an interview with Absolute Ricky Starks, where he's like, "Hey, I'm done with the Jericho Appreciation Society. What's next for Starks?" And it turns out that it was a Bullet Club tease. And the one guy on the roster who's actually been talking that he's still at the Bullet Club on Dark and Elevation, Juice Robinson. Now, I know he's got a lot of pull with Mox. Mox respects the hell out of him. He's got great creds from Japan. Did you watch him when he was in Japan at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Juice was back in NXT during the
I remember him.
When KO and Sammy and Charlotte and Sasha were coming out.
Back when it's good,
and, one of my most memorable moments from NXT was Juice was fighting KO, and I think it was like KO's second or third match.
He didn't last long in NXT. He didn't last long.
Right, he got promoted quickly, as he should have.
Yeah,
and so it's basically your basic Jushin Thunder Liger palm strike spot. Juice throws KO into the corner. KO rebounds out of the corner, stumbling towards him. Mm-hmm. And Juice delivers a running palm strike. But when that palm strike hit, and that snap you heard was his palm destroying Kevin Owens' nose.
Oh, right.
So Owens went down in a heap, and blood was pouring everywhere. That's my first Juice Robinson memory.
Okay.
And so, of course, KO, had to get his receipt in, and he power bombed Juice pretty hard a couple times.
He does that.
He put a little extra on it because of the nose.
Nose. I hear you. He put some stank on it. I hear you.
Yeah, he laid him in, and then I guess Juice went on. He's fought in a bunch of the G1 Climax tournaments. He always puts on. Not going to say always, but he can put on some really good matches. I think he might have been Kenny Omega's first challenger for the U.S. title, and when Kenny was IWGP US champ the first time around, and Kenny gave Juice a one-wing angel off the second rope, so an avalanche one-wing angel, and I think that was the first time he ever did it. So that's something else that is unique about Juice. But back to the show, when that music hit, I fucking thought 100%. I'm like, Jay White, baby. I was so excited.
That's the point.
And Juice comes out, and I was like, God damn it. Can we at least get, like, maybe Jay will pop up on the screen, and there'll be a tag team? And
here's the thing. If it leads to Jay White joining Juice Robinson in AEW, I'm all for it. I don't care if it's one time. I don't care if it's two times. Just the rub one time will make this against Ricky Starks worth it. This is not the I've got a Hall of Fame talent worthy announcement, Tony Khan. But yes, I thought, holy shit, is it really Jay White? They're going to bring him against Starks? No. They brought in Juice. And that is a disappointment, and that's on us. Because we want Jay White that much. And they know it. And this is like our wish version of Jay White.
Yeah, I don't fault
Juice.
I don't fault Tony for that. I think it's a tease. It's a good tease.
Yeah. If it leads to Jay, I'm all fucking for this.
Right, but even if it doesn't, I still think it's fine because Forbidden Door is coming up, and there's going to be a Bullet Club story.
Okay. And
I'm hoping to God that this time, like, the Elite can get involved in that Bullet Club story, and it's not just a one match with no hype. The Young Bucks being an afterthought. I'm hoping we don't get that again. I'm hoping we can get a storyline, and Bullet Club is on life support right now. I think someone posted in the chat today, like, Bad Luck Fale is like the only original member left. Mm-hmm. All the other guys are out. I haven't been keeping up with it because it just hasn't been entertaining. I guess is Kenta still in? Is Kenta not in? I don't know. But anyhow, yeah, it'll be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this leads into Forbidden Door. And if
I forgot about
people
that.
Involved with Starks. But but as for Starks versus Juice, straight up, Starks is just going to beat him. So unless they get other people involved, this isn't going to be very interesting.
Now, if they make this a longer feud, like he doesn't beat Starks, but Starks barely gets a win, maybe he gets a roll-up pin, and maybe he extends it out by getting his heat by attacking him after the match, beating him down, and then Starks demands another match with him or something. However they escalate it.
Maybe you can beat him twice, like you beat Jericho twice.
Exactly. So he comes in for a second match, maybe in a week or two, and maybe that's when it's Jay White showing up. And that's where the pop comes in.
That would be great. That would be great. Just get other people involved with this is all I'm saying. Just if it's just one-on-one and it's not, Forbidden Door is still it's still 16 weeks away because it's probably going to be the same day as my wedding, so I'll have the countdown for Forbidden Door.
Well,
in my head,
we'll have to see how and where that goes. Fortunately, getting married is still fun, and you'll enjoy it, I'm sure.
It's not as fun as Forbidden Door.
Fair enough. Tell your wife that. Tell your soon-to-be wife that.
She already knows.
Okay. She should know getting married to you, which is why my wife is on the other side watching TV, the other side of the house. Have fun doing your podcast.
Right.
That's her voice. It sounded like the girl or the woman from Princess Bride, the old witch. Have fun storming the castle. So the next segment was Wardlow announcing Falls Count Anywhere against Hobbs because he got everything stolen and didn't have any gear. So they just, fuck it, we won't even be in the ring but for a few minutes anyways. I thought that there was a good way to announce it. They brought in a lot of realism to make it kayfabe, to make it sort of make a lot of sense. I thought this was good on-the-fly presentation. So kudos to whoever put this package together, mixing in real life with wrestling to give it that flavor of realism. Now, it sort of felt like a couple of people took took credit for stealing the belt. Like Joe said something about it, and then sort of Hobbs said something about it, so I'm not sure which way they're going with that. But either way, he came out and said Falls Count Anywhere, and that's later on. Then we got straight into Ruby Soho. Now, before we talk about Ruby, did you have anything to say about Falls Count Anywhere and the whole TNT setup at this point, this segment?
Falls Count Anywhere.
Wasn't it Anything Goes?
Okay. The setup for the main event.
Right.
Yeah,
that was
I was pretty excited. I was glad to hear that stipulation, and I thought we'd get a crazy, hard-hitting main event, which we'll talk about. And I thought that was fine going in. Thought it was fine.
I had a problem with the goddamn sound every time Renee had the mic. I couldn't hear crap compared to Excalibur. I'm like, dude, in sound, turn her gain up. That entire feed is nearly silent. Oh,
I don't know. I guess I don't have too much of I don't have a good ear for picking up the audio issues.
I couldn't hear it. I couldn't help but notice.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't paying attention at that part.
Yeah,
so,
I guess because
it's
annoying, and it's every segment she was in. Literally, I had to turn the volume up to be able to hear her, and then turn the volume down so that Excalibur and the rest of the show didn't blow my speakers out. It was crazy.
Yeah, maybe someone's playing a joke on her. I don't know.
Maybe, but then we had Ruby Soho in the ring, and she starts basically doing her promos to why she turned heel. And I thought it was good. She came across a lot better than she ever did as a face. I was like, damn, I actually like this as a heel character. She was really just, it was a much better promo than she had ever done previously, personally. And it gave some stakes to the joining of the group. And then I noticed that she was wearing the green that they're spray painting everyone. And when Saraya came out later, she also had green. I was like, oh, green and black is sort of their group color. Okay, if it wasn't DX colors already, I'd be down with it. And then came out. Yeah. Now, she did mention Chris Statlander. First mentioned as Statlander in a long time. Does that mean a potential return? Because that's usually the only way we know a wrestler's going to return is when their name gets brought up on air.
Yeah, I think it would be great to see a Statlander return. I just want to check and see when her injury was, because the women's division needs a boost. I think she might go right into a program with Jade that everyone's been talking about. But yeah, it was back in July, so that was that's a while ago. That's like 8-9 months. So her return should be coming soon.
So the fact that she's been brought up a couple of times.
Right.
So that leads me to think that she might be close to her return. I'm excited about that. Now, Ruby said she got booed, etc., and that's why she turned heel. It was a You People promo, but it was a good one. I thought she did really well, like I said. So I'm excited to see that. Then she actually had a match, and it was against our favorite Sky Blue. Now, once again, this was blue versus Ruby, blue versus red, even though Ruby, red, was dressed in green. Sky Blue, of course, was in blue. All these women have colored names. Why?
I don't know.
I don't get it either. But there were a few segments where I noticed Sky Blue being able to get her moves in. One of them is the little low spin kick where the opponent has her like blocked it the first time, and then she comes back around with it. She does that in her matches. That's a good move. She's starting to really develop. She's starting to grow on me. What can I say? Tony Khan recognized that she had a lot of potential. He's been putting her on TV. She's losing every match, but she's out there, much like Billy Starks. Maybe in a couple of months, if the people get behind Billy Starks, he'll do the same thing with her. But he's building Sky Blue, I think, effectively. Give her a few more years. This girl could be pretty popular. What'd you think of her squash match against Ruby?
The match wasn't rated very well.
No.
I didn't think it was really anything special. Sky Blue was fine as a mid-carder. Ruby Soho has a little, upper mid card potential. They're giving her a lot of time right now. It seemed like when she first came in, she got a big push, and then she just kind of faded away for a while. And now she's back in this faction with Saraya and Storm. I feel like, as I said before in the other podcast, the only thing that can save this feud is Sasha Banks or Mercedes showing up in AEW. It would inject some life into it, but I don't think that's going to happen. There's no real sign that that's going to happen. So I'm just going to suffer through it, I guess. I think, like, I would love to see another Hayter versus Storm match. They had a great match last time out, the two of them, one of the better women's matches in AEW. But yeah, Saraya in the main event doesn't really work for me. And she's really going after the fans on Twitter. I saw some comments about that. When she showed up, I was kind of scratching my head. Was like, why are all these people acting like she's some great wrestler? Because you might have a different opinion than me, but
I did. When she was younger, she was great.
Yeah, I never saw it, and she wasn't on the same level as Charlotte or Sasha or Bailey or what's her name, Asuka. So I don't know. I just thought that the hype when she came in was there's no way in hell she was going to have any way to live up to it, and here we are. Now she's a heel and she's bitching about the fans booing her on Twitter, and I think that's all we're ever going to get out of her. So
fortunately, I have a little bit more faith in Ruby Soho. But fortunately, but after the match, we had the typical heel beatdown with the trio getting ready to spray paint sky blue with their neon green, and out came Willow Nightingale to try to stand up and say, "Hey, Ruby, what are you doing?" Didn't matter. They triple teamed her, beat her down, and they spray painted both of them. Now, I like Willow. She's grown on me. She's starting to really pick up some, again, fan appreciation, which I think goes a long way in AEW. And, she had one bad move with Anna Jay where she probably hurt her pretty bad. Maybe not bad, but hurt her enough that she's out. But it was an accident. She's not green, but she's still young. Shit happens. It was a hardcore move on a hardcore match. She probably never threw herself off a stage through a table before. What can you say? So Willow came out, got beat down. And is that going to be a tag match in the future? Who knows? But at least Willow's mixing it up with basically the top of the card, because these people are also feuding with Jamie Hayter. So, yeah, she got beat down, but maybe, I don't know. It seemed like an okay segment, but I really hope it goes somewhere. Right now, it sort of feels like the Nexus, where like they're talking, but nothing's happening.
Yeah, it's just another feud that's carried over past the pay-per-view. It's like, it's one of the things you look forward to after the pay-per-views, especially when they're only quarterly, is the refresh when a lot of the feuds get reset and you see new compelling matchups. And I don't think we really got that in this show. So moving on.
Yeah, well, another backstage segment that was hard to hear, which was Renee and Hangman, where he said he's absolutely finished with Moxley.
He was beat up too.
Yeah, he had a black eye. That shiner, man. So
he was hobbling around.
Yeah, he was beat up. There's no doubt. That's why he had the week off.
He may have won the battle at the pay-per-view, but the way Mox looked and the way he looked, I think Mox might have won that war.
Mox was able to wrestle. He wasn't. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. But he said he was done. But so the next segment, which of course is
Jericho Appreciation Society against Top Flight.
I'm looking at something that goes into FTR.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yeah, because it says up next trios action and then it says FTR. I'm like, what the hell? So it confused me because fuck that. So FTR came out, obviously a huge pop because it's FTR. They've re-signed. Yay, FTR is back. And they've announced that they're going after the belts because the Guns suck.
Did they announce they've re-signed? Because I heard their contract's still up in a month. Even despite the show last night.
Maybe I heard something else. I don't remember specifics. I might have just been a headline from a clickbait article.
All right, let me take a look at that.
I thought they had re-signed. They're certainly getting the audience participation push, so why wouldn't they re-sign? They're beloved. And if they get the belts, that's the incentive. Shit, that's what they did. That's what they gave the belts to the Guns and then re-signed them.
Allegedly.
Wow.
That's what we were told. That could be kayfabe.
That's true.
But Dax claimed on his podcast on March 8th, which was yesterday, so it was probably aired the day before, their contract status hasn't changed, and they're signed with AEW until the third week of April. So, and there's multiple, like Wrestling Observer, and zero has changed regarding their contract. So they are signed for another 7 weeks, and then they're free agents. So we'll see what Tony does. Maybe Tony gives them those straps to help convince them to re-sign.
Which is the oldest tactic in the book. Now, last week I said the match that I wanted to see was FTR versus Young Bucks and you and Krill, rightly so. Correct me, said no, they had wrestled before, and you're correct, but never for the titles.
Right, it'll be their third match.
But for the titles.
They fought for the ROH titles, I believe, and the FTR won the second match, but not the AEW titles. You're correct.
That's what I'm talking about. So
yep.
If they come back, they re-sign, they win the titles, then they get their final big match with the big push with the Young Bucks. Would be great.
Yeah, it would have been nice if we got FTR versus the Bucks in Winnipeg, but,
Hey, you could ask for a whole lot of nothing or be happy with a little bit of something. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess I should just be happy that Kenny and the Bucks are on the show in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and not fired, yeah. Or suspended or whatever, or just not wrestling. Yeah.
Or visa problems.
Or visa problems for their hometown, yeah. That's the hard part. So, fortunately, FTR came out, said, hey, we're the best, and people chanted their names, and yay, we love FTR. I love FTR. I think they're fantastic. I really hope they re-sign, and they actually get some great matches as champions and cement themselves in AEW history as one of the finest, because they are 7-star FTR, and they are some of the finest wrestlers in tag team, dedicated tag team wrestlers on the planet.
For sure. So I think you're going to disagree with this tweet that I saw, and it's not the first time I've seen this sentiment. There's a fucking group of people on Twitter that say the only reason FTR is over is because of their music, their entrance theme. Any thoughts on that?
Okay. So, first of all, entrance means a lot in wrestling. Presentation means a lot in wrestling. You tell me Hogan's fucking music didn't matter. Okay, I'm sorry, American was fucking iconic. The NWO Voodoo Child was fucking iconic. Entrance music matters. Eye of the Tiger matters. Fandango will tell you entrance music can get you over on just music alone.
Now I have that fucking Fandango song in my head. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, I got I Dream of Jeannie, fortunately. The fact is, they were over before the music. So, fuck those guys. So, then we got into Jade Cargill with the most confusing statement and match make I've ever heard. She called out the best Canadian wrestler. And I'm like, who the fuck, Natalia? Who are they getting that could be considered a great female Canadian wrestler? Trish Stratus? Are they going to have Trish on the show? That would be fantastic.
It's going to be a Mania, so no.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So who the hell are they calling out as a great Canadian competitor and female? Any ideas? Anyone? I don't know. I don't know who they're talking about.
So I'm going to post in chat who it is.
And
there it is right there.
I'm going to explode.
Kenny Omega when he dressed up as Princess Jasmine from Aladdin.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
That's like the most liked response from on AEW's Twitter post where they're posting Jade's interview. So
that okay, yeah, fine. Jade versus Kenny, fine. I'll accept it.
Taya Valkyrie, people, I don't know who that is.
Taya Valkyrie, okay. She's John Morrison's wife.
Oh, okay.
I think, and she's got quite a reputation. So I haven't seen her in a long time. If I've seen her before, she may have been in NXT for a hot coffee. But yeah, I know the name, and I know she's got a good reputation. So good on her.
So that's who it'll probably be, based on what people are saying on Twitter, and then based on the poll I'm posting here. So if you were a part of the Elite Mark Order Discord, you could see some of these great pictures that I'm posting right now during this discussion, and it's all hilarious stuff. So join our Discord.
We always have hilarious conversations at the Elite Mark Order Discord. Now, you can join the Elite Mark Order Discord by clicking on the link in the description below, or you can go to EliteMarkOrder.com, click on Join the Discord. It's right there at the top. Real easy to find us. If you show up randomly, you're going to have to say the password. And the password is JJ for life.
That's right. Or you could call Scott directly, and he's going to tell you his phone number right now. So get that pen and paper ready.
It is 877-55... L.
8675309?
I think that might have been it, actually. But if you call that and ask for Jenny, you might get a sheriff.
You might.
That was the urban legend, was that one of the area codes led to a town where there was a sheriff whose daughter was Jenny. And nice. Whether or not that's true, that was the urban legend back in the day. Next up, and I know you're happy about the results of this, is the trios match, which was the JAS, Jericho Appreciation Society, consisting of Jericho, Guevara, and Garcia against Top Flight and AR Fox. Now, what'd you think of the match overall?
I mean, I would have rather it had been Jericho and Sammy against Top Flight, but this was setting up the Winnipeg.
Yep.
The Winnipeg show. So Kenny, well, actually not so much Kenny. Jericho had been talking about he wanted to do something with Kenny in Winnipeg. So this is it. So we get a 1 week, which is fine. I mean, I can't criticize that there's only a 1 week build for this because it's the week after their big pay-per-view. So this is not something that would have made any sense to start building before the pay-per-view. I mean, I guess they could have teased it, like with Jericho and Kenny talking shit to each other, but that would require too much advanced thought about a storyline that the Elite are involved in. Anyhow, I thought the 6-man was fine. It didn't rate very well for, where most of the 6-mans we're seeing lately. The trios matches are rating a 6 or a 7. This one only got like a 5.5 on Cage Match. I have to say I loved I always love when Jericho's teaming with Sammy, they do the Les Sex Gods pose.
Right.
Where Sammy does his like Tranquillo pose and sticks his tongue out, and then Jericho leans over him with his hand on his fist, or with his chin on his fist. And then what I liked about it was Daniel Garcia got involved too. And then 2.0 jumped up on the outside of the ring and did the pose too, and as did Hager. So you had all 5 of them doing the Les Sex
right
Gods
before
pose.
the commercial break. It was hysterical.
I thought that was epic. And then they did a couple other great poses in the match, and I just love watching Jericho and Sammy work together. And Garcia
he's growing on you, isn't he?
Yeah, just Well, at first I thought like Garcia's not going to put up with this shit with Sammy for much longer. Like he's going to turn on him. They've been teasing.
Yep.
I mean, what JAS has just had their 1 year anniversary, and I felt like Daniel Garcia could leave it every week. I think he's going to bail, and here we are a year later, and he's starting to really take to it. Like he's, like Sammy was kind of clinging on him and leaning on him and hugging him, and Garcia was always just like irritated by it, but now Garcia is doing the same thing to them. So
well, it's the chain of command. Remember, he's doing it to Jericho, the leader. Sammy's doing it to him. So it's sort of like a hierarchy thing. It's a very subtle thing as to who he was clinging to. He didn't do it to Sammy. Sammy did it to him.
Right. Well, he's doing it to Sammy now. There were times in the match where he was like grabbing Sammy too.
So maybe I saw it wrong.
Yeah, it's almost like he's warming up, and I think
he is.
Garcia and Sammy could be a kick-ass tag team, and I think they could be a legit tag team threat, and they could have incredible tag matches. I'm always up for any Sammy Guevara's probably in my top 5 in AEW. I love basically anything that he's done has been very entertaining to me. So anything that gets him more time, I'm all for it.
I got to say that the JAS did great in the match. They were fantastic sports entertainers. I was entertained the entire match, and no small thanks to Top Flight and AR Fox, who once again show that they are mystical in that ring. Not quite as good as when they go flyer to flyer like the Young Bucks, where they're all doing high flying moves. But Sammy covered high flying. Garcia had obviously technical skill and could do some flying stuff. And then you have Jericho, who literally could do it all, but kept to his ground game. I thought overall they worked the match extraordinarily well. The Top Flight guys at AR Fox got their moves in. They looked spectacular. They lost right at the very end through shenanigans. Floyd the baseball bat. Right into the Judas effect, right into the pin. Perfect. I thought it was a great trios match. I don't care what the popular opinion is. I was entertained by it. And then the aftermath, where we set up Winnipeg. Okay, your microphone is blowing you off, or blowing you out, or blowing you up, and unfortunately you're cutting off.
Do you boys want to know what makes Daddy Magic Stipples hard?
No.
Is listen to this podcast every week, because for 3 months, Elite Mark Golder has been the epitome and favorite podcast of sports entertainers.
Entertainers. Matt Menard, everybody.
Anyways, we gotta go prepare for next week, because Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Daniel Garcia are going to beat the Elite and House of Black next week in Chris Jericho's hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, baby!
Perfect timing. We were literally just talking about that.
Like I said, we got to go prepare, so we'll see you next week on Winnipeg, Manitoba!
But I want a taste. Oh, he left. That was really fun. He didn't piss me off. Yeah,
I think Danhausen's cat might have chased him out of the stage area.
Well, she's good for that. Kitty Housen is really good at that. But next week is, again, after the aftermath of the match, after Jericho beat the Martin brothers, was the setup for next week in Winnipeg, where we have a trio à trois. That's right. I just mixed 2 languages to make a really, really bad sexual reference. The fact is that it's 3 teams of 3 in a trios match. I think that's a lot of people, and I don't know if it's going to be any good.
I think it'll work, just because there's so much talent and brilliant minds involved. I think it's going to be fine. Okay. So the setup for this was kind of interesting. So we got the Sacramento, California crowd, and Jericho Appreciation Society starts, saying how they want a shot at the titles, and they're calling out House of Black. So everyone expects the lights to drop, but that doesn't happen. Wayward Sun hits, and the Elite starts you could see their Titantron light up, and the crowd booed because they wanted House of Black. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a gut punch. Like, House of Black is more over than the Elite, which, kind of makes sense because House of Black has been held back ever since they came to AEW. So people want more of them. Every time they're on screen, they're incredible. They're one of the best things on every show every time they're out. But for some reason, we get to see them once every 2 months.
They're champions. That's got to change. They're freaking champions now. They need to have some sort of presence.
Hopefully it does. So Elite come out, they start talking, and then the lights go out and the crowd pops huge. Oh, I do want to say that after that initial boo, the crowd started cheering pretty loud for the Elite. So they did get a pop, so then the lights go out, House of Black shows up, and then we get the trios match for next week. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to Winnipeg. I'm traveling to Winnipeg for the show next week. It's actually it's actually a 21 hour drive, I think, from where I'm at. So it's not an easy, it's not the easiest trip in the world.
No.
I'm actually going to drive to Toronto, and fly out of Toronto direct to Winnipeg. And it's only like a 3.5 hour flight, which isn't bad. But it's going to involve a lot of driving and everything. It's going to be a pretty long day.
But it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it just for the podcast.
It'll be worth it when I get to see live Jeff Jarrett win the second most prestigious title in AEW in person. Oh, it'll be a moment I'll never forget.
And speaking of perfect timing, after the announcement about the match next week of the Trio à Trois for the title in Winnipeg, we had Tony Khan that he made an announcement. Now, it was a good announcement. I liked the announcement. The announcement itself was high quality in its content of what it was he was saying, but the manner in which he presented the content was extraordinarily weird. So
it was bad.
I don't know if I could call it bad, because it was if you put it on a good bad, I couldn't call it good by any stretch, but it was so strange. It was enthralling.
It would have been fine without the fucking paid Shazam.
No, that's part of it. Part of it was not only how he was saying it, but what he was saying, where he repeated Winnipeg like 5 times. And he said Shazam like 3. It was just so weird and odd and forced at the same time. Energetic, but he had a deadpan. I don't know what it was. It was.
I don't know if he was. I think he might have just thought he was going to wing it, and then he started stuttering and lost. He lost his place and started maybe repeating himself.
But he made the announcement that they were changing, aka leveling up, the All Atlantic Championship into International Championship, which is fantastic. I like the change. It makes it feel more prestigious by calling it international, because it's like the Intercontinental. See how they're similar? So it feels more prestigious in your mouth by saying international versus All Atlantic.
I felt like All Atlantic was a tribute to Mid-Atlantic. And when Pac won the title, my assumption was, it's going to be a kind of a UK thing, and they would defend this title in the UK more often, and it would be more of a European title. But it's been defended
much more.
Has it been defended in Japan? I don't know if it has.
No.
It's defended in Canada. Going to be defended in Canada.
He's had it a few places. The international is well received. He has gotten it around, but most of it's been on AEW.
Didn't Khan say it's been defended 5 times outside of the US? So that was all. I think that was all in the UK then, because I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
It was probably all Pac who was doing the rounds when he was basically at home in England. And they didn't do shit with the international until Canada just now. So again, they're trying to build it up. Whatever. It's a better name. I like it. It's fine. It's time for a new belt, so they get to redesign the belt. And then realistically, if he does beat Jeff Jarrett next week, fantastic. He just beat a dear legend. And if Jeff wins, well, it's time for a change because, enough is enough and it's time for a change. Sometimes when you change the belt, it's time to change the belt holder. So
in case any elite marks want to know about those title defenses, we got Pac defended against Shota Umino, John Moxley's son, as some people would call it, who's also Red Shoes' kid from New Japan. Pac defended against LJ Cleary in Ireland. He beat Umino in England, South Yorkshire. Then his next match was in Dublin, and then he had another one in Manchester in the UK, and then he also defended in Toronto. So Orange won the title in Toronto against Pac.
And that was the title change on international soil, which is where he's like, we're going to name it that. And again, he mentioned Shazam, and then he mentioned the leveling up, and he just went over and over that a bunch. So it was really odd.
So as for the Shazam thing, so that was just basically the movie studio is paying him to promote Shazam during his announcement, right? I mean, that's all that was?
Well, there was the video package that followed where they spliced in a couple of wrestlers into their commercial, which they've done before, so whatever.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're going to have a special Shazam. I don't know. Maybe they'll have Orange come out in a Shazam shirt. I don't really know. I own a Shazam shirt, by the way, so no joke about that.
Costume or just the shirt?
Just the shirt. I have a Shazam shirt, a Black Adam shirt, a Black Racer shirt, a Reverse Flash shirt, and a Flash shirt that I all bought.
But no Slapnut shirt. Oh, wait, you had the Slapnut shirt that's on the tuxedo?
Yeah, that was the tuxedo shirt with the Slapnuts on it. Yeah, no, those are all in my closet. I bought the 5 comic book ones at Phoenix Comic-Con years and years ago.
Okay, well, maybe Black Adam shows up in Toronto, or I'm sorry, in Winnipeg.
He might
get involved.
He might, and he might give the rock bottom to Orange Cassidy and let Jeff Jarrett win the title.
Could you even imagine if that happened?
No, just no. No.
The internet would explode.
Yes.
Winnipeg would explode.
Yes. Everybody would explode.
Stanford would explode.
Vince McMahon would never be seen again. He would go into hiding forever.
He always could just mask up, like that one time that CM Punk showed up at that indie show and gave someone to go to sleep.
Right, because their tattoos are totally not identifiable.
Right.
But
wear a sweatshirt and a mask. No one will know.
Sure. Except for his build, maybe.
Lots of dudes are built like The Rock.
Exactly. So the fact is, Tony Khan finished his little announcement, and then we moved on to the Bryan Danielson promo with the oh my God, that thing was heartbreaking. They filmed it right after Revolution, so he was literally just covered in blood and sweat and bandages. Oh my God. It was brutal. And then he was talking about the thing with MJF, talking about his family, and then he started thinking about his family during the match. And then he said at the end of it, I think it's time for me to go home. And then he walked off camera. It's like, holy shit. What a promo. Where does he go from here? You have thoughts? I think I lost Jay.
Oh, no, I'm here. I wrote in the chat that I'll be right back. I just had to run out of my office real quick. So I'm back.
Unfortunately, I wasn't reading it. That's what happened.
All right. So yeah, the Daniel Bryan interview. I thought it was really good. It's also something I did not want to see because Bryan is one of the best reasons to watch AEW. He's one of their best competitors. he's top 5 for me. I'm never going to complain about Daniel Bryan, a Bryan match or Daniel Bryan being on TV. And it's Bryan Danielson, not Daniel Bryan. One of these days I'll get that right.
You might. A lot of people still make that mistake.
So
it happens.
Yeah, I hope he's not out long. I hope I don't know if he's going to stay out until Forbidden Door in 16 weeks.
I hope not.
Or if he'll come back for Double or Nothing in May before then, which is really Double or Nothing's only like 2.5 months away. So because it's the end of May, it's Memorial Day weekend. So I hope he comes back for Double or Nothing, because Double or Nothing will really suffer without him being on the card. So I really hope he's back for that. Give him a month off, give him 6 weeks off, but bring him back for that pay-per-view, please.
Yeah, give him some time off. Absolutely. Not only has he earned it, but it's good for the story. Let him come back with the hero's welcome. Maybe he'll actually team up with the BCC again. Who knows? But just the emotion that he was able to evoke from his simple, I'm going home now, it's time for me to go home, was just, ouch. The barbs from MJF took its toll, and what was the finish? He hit him in the head with a foreign object right in his head. So they played into that story fantastically, and once again, that was one of the best matches on pay-per-view ever, and this is the payoff of it. More where do they go from here storyline, which I love. The next match that we rolled into, speaking of the BCC, comes Jon Moxley and the ROH champion Claudio Castagnoli versus Alex Reynolds, John Silver, the Beaver Boys, a.k.a. the guys from Dark Order. I've always been a fan of Alex and Reynolds. I think they have an amazing finishing combo now that they've been allowed to showcase. Silver's got amazing charisma. Alex is a pretty boy and is actually pretty good in the ring. There was no chance against Moxley and Claudio. The only surprise was that Moxley didn't bleed. What'd you think of the match overall?
It was a squash. Silver and Reynolds got some of their stuff in, but obviously there was no chance. I mean, Mox and Claudio are unstoppable.
They should be.
I think what was surprising to me was at the end of the match when Mox choked Alex Reynolds out. Alex Reynolds was, it seemed like he was pretty much unconscious, and Mox almost looked down at him sympathetically, like he was going to try and wake him up, and say, "Hey, nice match." But he goes like fucking like nasty heel and puts him right back into the chokehold, starts choking him out even more, and they're beating the shit out of these guys and that forced Hangman to come out. Hangman wanted to be done with this, so we had the big brawl. Evil Uno came out first. I should mention that Uno came out first, and then Hangman came out. So yeah, so I mean, I guess this feud isn't over. It's going to be BCC versus Dark Order and Hangman. I mean, I thought Hangman might be going after MJF. Like MJF's going to be in Winnipeg next week, which is cool. So we'll get to see who his next challenger is going to be, hopefully.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to announce who his next challenger is. It has to happen. It's just going to set up.
It's not going to be Hangman, and it doesn't look like it's going to be Ricky Starks, because Ricky Starks is tied up with the Bullet Club. So who's it going to be? I mean, they got a lot of guys. Like, I'm hoping that we get like a return or someone comes out to introduce a fresh program with MJF. Like maybe it's Miro, maybe it's Jay White, maybe it's I don't know. I'm just trying to think of someone else who hasn't been on TV for a while.
You're really getting my hopes up by saying Miro. He's
right.
Absolutely the perfect opponent at this point for MJF.
Yeah,
just a
great.
fucking monster who would destroy him, but MJF still wins. Just ekes it out, and Miro would be able to play that off perfect because he would just be overwhelming till the very end, when it's probably a neck move or whatever it is that everybody's previously exposed as his one weakness, and he legitimizes himself more. And Miro, he can cut a damn promo. So, yep. God, you said Miro, and my eyes lit up because I'm a huge Miro mark. I would love to see that program. Damn it, Now I'm
I
hungry
think
for a
what I'd
bacon
like to see
cheeseburger.
most is. I think what I'd like to see most is, and I know Kenny's involved in the 9-man match, but if MJF called him out and then they decided to have a Kenny title shot against MJF on Rampage, I'm gonna guess they'd get more than 260,000 people watching on Friday night.
You announce that, and then
Right.
it's the first match. Nothing else on this show will get watched, but those first, and you make it like a half-hour match. You go like the entire first half of the entire show, this one match. Yeah,
Right.
it would get a couple
double or
ratings.
triple the ratings they're getting, but
It might get 2 or 3 more people. Sure. Yeah, Kenny versus, that would be quite the announcement on Dynamite. Just signed. Excalibur running down the match, and just signed. Tony Khan said, MJF versus Kenny Omega. Oh my God! Yeah, there's no way they'd have to build up to it a little bit. I would love that.
AEW is starting to remind me of like the 80s WWE or WWF, I should say, when you would watch the Saturday morning shows because that's all that was available.
Yeah,
and you'd be longing for a good match to be shown on TV.
Yeah,
and you'd have to wait if you wanted to see the good matches or you wanted to see the feuds. You'd have to go see them when they come to your town.
You'd have to pay for it on pay-per-view too.
AEW, well, I'm like in between
just
WrestleMania.
Before, yeah. Well, yeah, in between WrestleManias, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Saturday night main event, you had primetime wrestling where you could get some stuff in, but not everyone had access to those shows, or not everyone's parents let them stay up till 11 p.m. to watch Saturday night's main event,
even on a weekend.
Saturday night.
Yeah,
so, right. So, but yeah, hopefully he starts loading up the card again. It's like such a Vince McMahon thing because like McMahon would come out and like almost apologize for his shitty fucking booking. Things are going to change around here. I'm going to start booking better shows. And he would for a couple weeks, and then it would just go back to the same old bullshit with Miz taking up half the program in what it doesn't even resemble a wrestling match. So,
You bring up some painful points. Let's move on.
I'm rambling.
Obviously, the beatdown, the aftermath, we know that Hangman's not done with Moxley in the BCC. So where does it go? Don't know, but I'm excited to watch it. Then I'm just
gonna say real quick. Hangman Moxley should be done. They should both be moving into different programs. I hope that this heel Blackpool Combat Club can pivot from Hangman and Dark Order and Fight the Acclaimed. I don't know. There's got to be something different.
I want to see more badass Evil Uno.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because we haven't seen that. He's been a pussy for 3 fucking years until that match with Moxley. I want more of him.
Maybe this is all setting up a big return for Stu Grayson. Stu Grayson will come out, and beat the Dark Order over. Could you imagine Stu Grayson beating Claudio?
No, I could not. Not even in my wildest dreams, because unfortunately, Stu does not have the backing of the boss.
Pound for pound,
look,
Stu Grayson is probably better though.
You could Claudio. Make any number of arguments, but the fact of the matter is, whoever wins is who's booked better. And he
pound for pound, though.
Look, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
but he's got a heavy accent, even heavier than Claudio's.
Yeah,
and Claudio's got enough charisma to get through it. Stu never really did. He just wanted to wrestle, and he's really, really, really good at just wrestling. He needed Evil Uno as his mouthpiece. He needed the Exalted One, the group.
I was watching, I forget how I came across it, but it was like from 2015. It was Evil Uno and Stu Grayson Stu Grayson had a full head of hair, too, back then in 2015. He was almost unrecognizable. But it was him and Uno as the Super Smash Brothers against the Young Bucks in PWG. And it was sick. Like, it was just stuff that the Bucks don't do anymore. It was pretty wild.
They're not in their 20s.
Right, early 20s. But yeah, I'll post it in the chat room. It was a killer match.
Yeah, I totally watched that. So
Yep.
we got the next section, which was the hype for the Acclaimed, interrupted by 3.0, I guess is what they're calling 2.0. Who knows? Menard and what's his name, and they're apparently going to wrestle the Acclaimed. On Rampage. So I'm not sure how I feel about that because it's the Acclaimed, which is fantastic, but against Menard and okay, so they're going to get an easy win. I don't know.
Well, with all the interference from the JAS, maybe we're gonna get Jarrett. Maybe we're gonna get Lace-X Gods against the Acclaimed. I'd love to see that. So
No, it was
that's
clearly
where-
not Lace-X. No, we're not getting any tag team other than the friggin' Nipple Man and the Pompadour.
Oh no, I'm saying maybe this leads. Maybe Jericho. Maybe JAS
Oh.
interferes in this match and sets something up like a couple weeks out, where we'll get Acclaimed versus JAS members.
I don't know.
So,
I think the JAS is going against the trios, which means tag titles for the Young Bucks. I don't know. Anyways, that's just what I always think. We move on, and we move on, and we move on, and we get to the end, which is the Falls Count Anywhere match between Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow. Now, I expected big meat, big men slapping man meat, and we got it. They started off playing right into the kayfabe, starting off with a car, and they busted a car up in typical wrestler fashion, going through the windows and doing the spots, and then they slowly moved their way all the way into the ring, doing moves and hurting each other with weapons and different locations as they went. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was fun. It was, again, kind of making up for the fact that Wardlow didn't have gear, and it was a totally different type of match than they were expecting. There were some spots that seemed pretty spontaneous and some stuff that seemed fairly planned out. But at the same time, they kept it moving. They hit each other a lot. It wasn't quite it wasn't a hangman match. That's all I'm going to say. Hobbs is great. He put a lot in. I love Hobbs. I really do. When he first came in, I was like, damn, that's a big boy. He's only gotten bigger. Under Mark Henry's guidance, because it's Mark Henry, that dude is packing some muscle. He is big, but he still moves well. He's really started to get that presentation going. I saw it with Ricky Starks. What's that?
I wonder if Hobbs could have picked up that giant dumbbell.
I don't know. They didn't show.
Henry
They didn't show Hobbs.
No, he wasn't there. He might have been. He was out. I don't think he was traveling with AEW for that show. But
yeah, no, I don't think he was. Otherwise, he would have showed up to do it.
He was filming his interview on the streets,
Maybe
going into stores and stuff.
But again,
whatever the hell that was,
he's had the big push. Well, showing his story about the streets where people are afraid of him, and it's fine. He had the big push. He had the presence. When he was working with Starks, and they were doing a promo outside. I think this was last year when Starks was FTW champion. And he just had this big fur coat and the overalls. I was like, that's his look. He looks awesome, like a fucking pimp. Or better. I don't know, like a giant pimp. Something. He had the shades. He had the fur. He just looked. I was like, damn, he needs to do that more. I hope he emerges during this championship, the overwhelmingly, not just arrogant, but confident Will Hobbs. I don't know. But the fight moved along, and there were great spots. The one that really stands out is Wardlow doing from the top of the corner rope, the top rope, into a table below, a swanton bomb through the table, through Will Hobbs. That stuck out as probably the biggest moment of the match, and certainly impressive. I mean, damn, that's a lot of man going through the air, and just ask Sid Vicious how dangerous that can be when you weigh near 300.
Yeah, the senton through the table was incredible. Off the top rope to the outside for a guy that weighs as much as Wardlow does. It's just not something you really see. And then, of course, the power bomb on the outside. I'm like, this match is awesome. This is great. And then it stopped being awesome.
Well, when
It
they
went to
got
hell.
when they got up to the announce table, see, because they did some really good moves. They had some hard hitting moves because Hobbs is a power man, and Wardlow's a power man. In the ring for the few minutes they were there, it was even around the ring, it was good.
No, everything was great. Everything was great until the interference.
Well,
That's what ruined the match.
here's the thing: would it have been so bad if QT showed up and just distracted Wardlow, and Hobbs got the killing pin, and Hobbs got the low blow, and then he said, "Help me pick him up," and then put him down? Wouldn't it have been better if Hobbs took those actions? QT getting involved is fine.
No, QT getting involved. First off, QT being on TV is not fine, in my opinion.
Accepted.
QT should not be on TV. He's a trainer. He's not a wrestler. He has no charisma. All of his segments ever since AEW started have been god awful. That whole program that he had with the bunny was horrible, and I still feel sorry that the Blade had to deal with his wife going through that awful program with QT.
I had put that out of my mind.
Has been horrible.
I had put that out of my mind.
Yeah, his program with Cody, what kind of coincides with Cody starting to get booed really heavily was his program with QT, and then he even put QT over, like QT pinning Cody because they're buddies, and because QT's buddies with Tony Khan, and now QT is part of the booking team with Sanjay. Since the Nightmare Factory was dissolved because it was garbage and trash, no one cared about it. Now we have to find some other program to, shoehorn QT back on TV. So, let's see. Let's look at the list of wrestlers. Oh, well, Hobbs is kind of by himself. Let's put him with Hobbs, and he could be a heel with Hobbs. Doesn't fucking need QT. I mean, if Hobbs is going to go face when he eventually turns on QT, like I think that might help. Like maybe that's what's going on here. But good lord, there's so many better fucking guys in the back that aren't being used that could have been involved in this that can actually wrestle. But no, because QT's Tony's boy, here he is. Now he's got to be crammed down our fucking throat. And the last thing I want to see from week to week is QT interviews, QT wrestling matches on TV. I don't want to see them in a tag match. I don't want to see them at all. And I think Lawyer Scott wanted me to say this during the podcast that QT is just a steaming pile of dog shit that has no business being on television on AEW. He's fine as a trainer. Maybe he's good maybe he's been involved in some of the booking decisions that were good over the past 6 months. Not that there's been a lot of them, but just get him the fuck off my TV.
So I just want to be clear. You like QT.
When I rated him on Cage Match, I gave him a 1 out of 10. I was going to give him a 0, but I gave him a 1 out of 10 because I do like it when he does the QT special. That's basically the great Sasuke, like, cartwheel dive from the center of the ring where you do like a cartwheel. Speaking of which,
Jack Cartwheel.
I could say something positive real quick. Jack Cartwheel
I watched that match
AEW against Takeshita. It was only 4 minutes, but it was about as good as 4 minutes that you're going to see in a singles match. And he's had 2 other AEW matches that have not been filmed yet, and one of them may be on Rampage, which would be awesome. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow night to see if he might be on Rampage tomorrow. That would be nuts. But anyhow, yeah.
I did see Cartwheel do it. He did the cartwheel into the dive out. Then they did call it out as the special.
Yep,
Excalibur Excalibur knew it, of course.
And when Kenny Omega fought QT during the pandemic, Kenny called out QT on Twitter and says, "During our match, you got to hit me with that QT special," and he did. I think he botched it. Like when AEW first started, he could pull it off consistently, but now he's like the last few times he's tried, I don't think he's quite cleared the ropes.
Well, at least he's not top dollar.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but get him off my TV.
I'm not a fan of QT. I really want to see more of Nick Camarado. Aaron Solo showed up on Dark or Elevation as a face with new music and no mention of the firm or no mention of the factory. So I knew he was done. I knew that it all blew up. And that was before I learned the news about it having been disbanded. So it looks like 2023, Tony's like, okay, you guys have not worked. You're done. And the rest of them just scattered to the winds because nobody knew anything about them anyways. QT has not been successful at elevating anybody ever. Even Hook, who barely interacted with them, but interacted with them, did not really get more over after his interaction. Now, here's the best case.
Hook,
yeah.
Is he still suspended from that Stokely thing? That was like 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago?
They didn't mention it, but he was supposed to have a match with Stokely.
Well, you were calling for a match with Stokely. I don't remember ever hearing that was going to happen.
No, that was the stipulation, was that if he beat Matt Hardy, he got a match with Stokely. They haven't paid that off.
Okay.
It disappeared. I don't know. Maybe they're working on it. Maybe Stokely's not happy with the match results. I don't know what's going on, but they announced that, and we haven't seen Stokely or the firm since.
Right. And speaking of the factory, you like Camarado. I think Cole Carter has some potential. The dude has a good look. He's only like 22, so I think Cole Carter, could have a career in front of him. He's the other guy. As far as Aaron Solo, I don't see any potential there. And
he's a jobber. He's a hand.
And then I love Camarado. He's a beast, and I'd like to see him unleashed. I remember him one-handing one. I'm not saying it right.
One-hand press.
He overhead pressed, one-hand pressed Wardlow over the top of his head. Not like from the ground, but he pulled Wardlow off the ropes and was holding him over his head with one freaking hand.
He also was able to pick up the weight.
Yes, he was.
The training weight that Mark Henry brought that nobody else except Satnam Singh could do. Camarado had trouble, but he did it.
Yep.
I like him. I've always liked him. When he first showed up, I was like, damn, dude looks like a fucking caveman. Put him with Jungle Boy and the Dinosaur.
Ah, yeah, that would have been cool.
That was absolutely... You disappeared from the room. Maybe that was... I don't know.
I'm still here.
Yeah, weird. The display changed. But put him with Jungle Boy, put him with Luchasaurus, make him a caveman. I thought that was just a ready-made gimmick.
Yeah.
But they didn't do it. And I still want to see more of Nick Camarado. I still think he's got a ton of upside and potential. But he's never been elevated by being with QT. And the best case scenario is that next week Will Hobbs comes out as champion because he beat Wardlow. Let's not skip that. He did. They did beat him. He comes out as champion, calls out QT, and murders him because he doesn't need anyone.
That would be great.
Will Hobbs. This is the Book of Hobbs, and it's payback. I don't care what the promo is. He needs to murder QT, get him the hell out of his life, and off TV.
I mean, I gotta admit, I'd love to see that, but it still wouldn't make it worth it for the frustration of having a main event settled. You get, and it's just something WWE's done over the years, is you have a stipulation match, no DQ, no count out, or, last man standing, and there's interference and the match ends because it's 2-on-1 or 3-on-1. It's like it's an insult for your main event to end like that because it's just garbage. It's not competitive. It doesn't make any sense that that you couldn't get, that nobody else would have your back to come out if there's interference in a match like that. I just hate those endings. It's one of my least favorite angles in wrestling is when you have a 2-on-1 finish to a match with a stipulation. I mean, I don't mind,
especially for a title, especially for a goddamn title.
For a title, yes. It's like when you go back and watch like the history of the Intercontinental Belt or the history of the tag team titles. back in the day in WWE, they were all generally really good matches, and sometimes there was cheating or foreign object, and that's fine. But to have it like a 2-on-1 match is just straight up trash.
I didn't agree with, again, the timing and who did the damage and who basically was the influence in the match. I would rather have just had a simple distraction from QT. Or even better, a fucking sacrifice from QT. Have Wardlow just clobber him, and that gives Hobbs the advantage. And he gets the finish from there. I'd have been okay with that, too. But the way they played it with QT, he ultimately was too influential in the match, to me.
Yeah, he was in. It's just the 2-on-1, 3-on-1, just
And I think that's what took away from the match, was the fact that he was too influential. And it's unfortunate that it ended that way, but it did end that way, and that was the end of the show. Now, overall, there's a lot a lot of fallout. A lot of storylines have started. Some have started, out of the blue. And is Jay White going to be involved in the future? We don't know, but if he is, Juice Robinson will absolutely get a rub by association. So that's my big prediction. That's their big return. That's going to be the big signing. It's going to be Jay White. That or Juice is going to get booed out of the building forever, because people will hate him.
Yeah.
And so next week, we get to see Jeff Jarrett win the international title in front of you. In front of you. So.
Yeah, maybe I'll run in the ring and celebrate with him.
You know what? If you wear one of those Slapnut shirts with the tuxedo Slapnuts, it's definitely going to get his attention, because I don't think they've sold them for a number of years.
I got to decide if I'm going to try and print something.
You totally need a sign that says JJ for life.
When I'm traveling, I guess I could roll it up and put it in my suitcase. But yeah, I'll have to look into that. It's got to say, advertise the Elite Mark Order.
I was going to say, it's got to say JJ for life and then EliteMarkOrder.com. That's it.
So Rampage actually has a good lineup. Just previewing Rampage for tomorrow night. We got Sammy Guevara versus Action Andretti. You called it. Yep. I didn't think they were going to fight again.
Totally,
you called it.
Totally were.
Yeah. So I'm definitely excited about that. I hope Sammy wins, but Sammy's up 1-0, so maybe Action Andretti will just get the win back, or
as long as it's a good match that elevates both opponents, it doesn't matter who wins.
Yeah.
And that's
Sammy,
what I'm hoping for.
Sammy seems to be stepping up his high-risk moves a little bit more lately, so maybe he was nursing an injury. I haven't been keeping up with his podcast, so I don't know.
His vlog?
Not his podcast, his vlog on YouTube, yeah.
It was suspended for a while. He'd stopped doing it. He's sort of spotty with it. I don't watch it regularly anymore.
Yeah. Takeshita versus Preston Vance should be good.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I think, I always want, with Takeshita, I think Vance might be more, have more of like a bodybuilder physique, but I think Takeshita's a lot stronger than him. So
it's a good matchup. It's a good matchup because Takeshita is technically good enough to carry Vance to a really good match.
Mm-hmm.
And Vance is still building. He's still not green, but he's still maturing and learning. I think this is going to be a great match for him to learn from. He may even get the win.
No, I don't see
Jose.
I don't think there's anything. I would say 90-10.
There's outside interference, man. It makes up for a lot of lacking.
Takeshita needs to start winning more than he's losing, I think.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I absolutely want Takeshita to win, but heel's got to heel.
Yeah, that's true. We also get a rematch from one of the first women's titles matchups with Nyla Rose, who's been not on TV for a long time, versus Riho. So that's a compelling matchup. They had some awesome matches back in the day when AEW first started, and I'm really excited to see them go at it again.
I am a fan of Nyla. Riho being so small, people are really able to throw her around, and Nyla, it's effortless. She really has the ability to toss her and just make it look brutal. Now, does it mean a win for Nyla and she gets a push? Maybe that's good. Does it mean a win for Riho and she gets a push? Hard to know. Riho's had a tough climb trying to get respect in the women's division. If she could pull off a win against Nyla, I guess that would get her, back in the contendership.
So Riho beat, I think it was Toni Storm. Was it the Dynamite before the pay-per-view? I know in the foreteller thing, almost no one picked her. I picked her, and it helped me move up the rankings a little bit. But yeah, Riho's got a little bit of a streak going on, so I expect her to win here. But I'm really looking forward to the match. It's just like the classic, big competitor versus smaller competitor match. Riho's gonna be getting ragdoll, and then she'll win with some crazy roll up. And
she won't win with a roll up. She'll win with the double stomp or something. Whatever she did last time, she's credible enough to be able to beat her, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And then last it says the Acclaimed in action, so it's going to be the Acclaimed versus Jack Cartwheel and Starboy Charlie. You probably noticed the Starboy Charlie signs that you see outside AEW. I've only seen a couple of his matches. I'm not too familiar with them. But that's awesome to see Jack Cartwheel getting a match on Rampage. I hope that this isn't like a 30-second match and that the Acclaimed lets them get their shit in, lets Jack Cartwheel get his shit in. So I'm super excited about getting to see Jack Cartwheel on Rampage. I would have never fucking guessed. Like 2 weeks ago.
You've been talking about it, man. You've been seriously talking about it. I told you. I literally said in the Discord, I cannot wait to see this Jack Cartwheel guy in AEW because you've been talking about for weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw him at Ric Flair's last match in his 6-man match. I can't remember what promotion it was. It might have been GCW, and he just like stood out in that 6-man match. That had some great luchadors in it, but I was like, who the hell is this guy? So I went and I watched his shit on YouTube, and it's just nuts. He's also got a match against Brian Cage, which is going to be on Dark or Elevation, I think, and that's actually a rematch. They fought this summer in a pretty awesome match, where Brian Cage is a lot bigger than Jack Cartwheel.
Oh yeah,
but Cartwheel is not only a gymnast; he's also a power lifter. For someone his size, he can toss people around a little bit too, and as well as fly like almost. I mean, he's just so powerful with his dives and things like that. He's just a unique talent that I really hope gets a fair shake, despite the fact he's only like 5'7". So,
well, and that's the only limitation is his height. But fortunately, AEW understands you could be 5'5" and be phenomenal. John Silver is still doing well.
Yes.
So, that was it. That's a great lineup. I know you're excited to see a lot of the card on Rampage. Hopefully, they can keep that up. And hey, you get to see that live. You get to see Jack Cartwheel live, right? No. That's tomorrow night, right?
Rampage is already. That's all those matches are already. They've already taken place. They were in Sacramento.
I forgot.
But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I'll see Jack Cartwheel in Winnipeg. But hey, you never know. You
never know. They might have a second program. Second week in their program. It happens,
right? And maybe because they're in Winnipeg, Kenny will do like a AEW Dark match, and it'll be Kenny and Riho against Jack Cartwheel and Billy Starks. Imagine that.
That would be, you would mark out heavily for that. Yeah. All right, let's end this. It's getting long, just like my wife tells me every night. All right, JJ for life.